Hey guys, how's it going? And in today's lesson, we'll be discussing about some tips and tricks that I use to create this model inside of Blender. And these tips and tricks will help your models go from mediocre to advanced and professional looking. So yeah, let's jump right into the Blender window. Let me just open up the reference image, and this is the reference that I followed. And I just changed up the front part up a bit as I didn't really like it. I don't really like the design, so I just made it this one. Apart from that, the core structure of the model is the same as the reference. So let's just come to the first step, which is to use blockouts. And blockouts is the most important step of creating any model inside of Blender. Now I'm not talking about a cup, of course. Models as simple as a cup doesn't really require a blockout. But in models which are very complex, you need to create blockouts to get the right proportions and the right core structure of the reference in your model. So yeah, I've seen a lot of people miss this step and actually ignore this step, but in my opinion, this is the most important step of creating a model, and I really give an emphasis on this, that please make blockouts. It will make your models look far better. Because if your proportions aren't even correct or aren't even as close to the reference as possible, then your model will not really look good. I mean, it can look good, but in most scenarios, you don't get the result that you desired. So first, the blockout stage is getting the proportions right, and the blockout stage is just making the basic structure of the model with the primitive objects like a cube or a sphere. So here I'm just showcasing that approximately how I actually created the blockout. Of course, I spent a lot more time and a lot more effort while creating the actual blockout, because just for the sake of video, I'm showing that how a blockout will actually look like for a model like this. So this is the most basic blockout of this shape, as you can see here. Now you can go on and add these details, these details on the back side, these details on the front side. But once you get the right proportion, the right dimensions, then adding the details will be much more easier and will look much more better and much more closer to the reference. One more tip is that for the detailing stage, you can use a subdivision surface modifier. For example, a subdivision surface modifier, if I just add it, and as you can see, it just smooths out the surface and it just subdivides it. So it has much more polygons, and it is much more subdivided, and it is much more smooth. And you can, if you do not want a smooth effect, or you want a sharp effect somewhere, so you can just select those edges and press the Control Shift plus E key, and then increase the mean crease, which will actually exclude it from the subdivision surface modifier effect. So as you can see, this is really sharp now, and the rest is really soft. So this just allows us to, for example, if I go back and delete this allows us to get these kind of results. For example, this shape right over here. For example, this shape is like going a bit of a curvy shape, and as you can see here, this is much more subdivided, and this part is a little bit more sharper than the others. And as you can see, I just increased the mean crease a bit in this section. I didn't increase it to a maximum point, but I just increased it a little bit so I can get this kind of smooth effect. This can be really useful in these kind of hard surface shapes, in cars, and in shapes or in models like these. Subdivision surface is a must. So the next step I want to discuss about is to avoid using n-gons and triangles. You should always go for quads, and why you shouldn't use n-gons and triangles is that some of Blender's features don't work in the when you have some n-gons and triangles. And n-gons and triangles often cause many shading errors. So for example, if I just go over here and let's say I take these two vertex points and I just join these. Before that, as you can see here, I can just send a whole loop across here without any issues, just like so. But if let's say I added in a triangle, now if I just add in a triangle, and now if I just try to add in a loop cut, as you can see, it just doesn't work. There's like a blockage because of this triangle. As you can see, it doesn't work here, neither here, and just causes a bit of mess if you have a lot of triangles. Now in this scenario, you may want this if you want to change the edge flow, but I don't think so you would really want it in this scenario. And same thing with the end cone. Let's say if I just remove this face, and if I just try to add a loop cut, as you can see here, it just doesn't work. Now especially these end cones don't really work well with the subdivision surface modifier. So for example, I've just added in a cylinder, and as you can see here, the top face is an end cone. So let's say if I add a subdivision surface modifier, as you can see here, the things just fall apart instantly. It's just a mess. As you can see, it just looks very bad. So yeah, so end cones and triangles don't really work the best with subdivision surface modifier, and they also limit some of the blender's functionality. So it's just best to avoid end cones and triangles, while end cones and triangles can look just fine in flat surfaces if you're not using subdivision surface modifier. Now the next step is to use as many references as possible, or if you do not have many references, then please take your time while creating the model. So for example, in this scenario, I only had one reference of this spaceship. So I didn't really have many references, I just had one, but I took my time while creating the model so I could get the basic block out and the basic shape of the model correct. The details, you can actually play around with them yourself, try out the details and see what fits your preference. But please take your time. I'm repeating this multiple times, so please take your time while creating a model if you do not have references. Even if you have references, then take your time while creating the model, because if you rush things, then it will go bad. Trust me, I'm a victim of this myself. I always used to rush things. I always wanted to create a model that looked good in a short amount of time, but unfortunately it just doesn't work that way. And I was met with disappointment when I spent a lot of time and effort while creating the model and I didn't get the desired result. So please take your time. I am sure I've repeated it multiple times. Now the next and the final tip that we have for this video is to use different textures and to mix different textures to get a nice material. So for example, if I go over to the material preview mode, so as you can see here, I've mixed multiple textures. For example, we have some camo texture going on over here and some metallic texture going on over here, and I've just mixed all of these with the mask. So I just painted it with using a mask, and you should also try to go for this edge wear that is, you can see over here, and over here. This edge can also add really nice effect and also add a really realistic effect. And even apart from that, you should also use normal maps. So for example, details like these and like these are not actually models or not actually built into the model, but they're actually a texture. So as you can see here, they are an actual normal map and it is actually 2D. So like for example, this is actually a decal, I think, and these kind of details can really help lift the model. So yeah, this is all I had for you guys today for this lesson. I hope you have learned something new. If you have, then make sure to comment down below that what you have learned, and until then, we'll be meeting in the next one. Have a great day.